and then I will just quickly take you through it. It's not a long slide. Otto had also shared it with you in your WhatsApp group, so it really isn't a long section, and it's because the last chapter is not a long part of the assessment. Okay, so I'm going to skip over that. So when you're submitting your final research report now, you're going to submit all the sections that you've done thus far. Okay, so from chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, and your 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, you would have received marks for that already. Then the only thing that's really new actually now is the last bit, which is the chapter 5. Okay, so that's pretty much the only new addition. So everything else, you just fix where you had made errors, and then you put everything together in one document. Okay, then so after your chapter 3, 4 assignment, the part of the chapter 4 as component was about learning how to code your interviews. So all of you would have done some inductive coding of your interviews. It's just a more like an academic term. But when you look for meaning in your transcript, that's called coding, okay, from what your participants have said. Then you would have refined to form categories. You would have refined these categories by exploring some patterns or relations between them in order to develop your themes. So for you, before you can start chapter 5, you needed to have your themes from your chapter 4. Okay, so this is where we are starting from your themes. Ne? And if anyone would like me to have a look at their themes, Lesotho already has indicated that you're more than welcome for me to just have a quick look at them and just see if there's anything that you might have missed. Okay, so your chapter 5, in your research report, your whole research report now will be out of 100. So the marks, some of the marks will be adjusted because, for example, if introduction in chapter 1 was out of 5 marks before, maybe now it will be out of 2 marks, okay? Because we just want the whole assignment to be out of 100. That doesn't mean you go and you change your introduction and you cut out some words or you reduce the length of it, okay? So we just did that so that we can get that 100. So out of the 100 marks, chapter 5 contributes 15 marks of the assessment. Okay, so it's really not a lengthy section. What are you going to do in chapter 5? The first thing, you're going to write a normal introduction like you would in any other chapter. And then you're going to discuss your themes with evidence from literature. So you already have literature that you cited in chapter 2. You're going to also refer to this literature in this part of the assignment, and then you're going to include extracts or excerpts from the raw data, your transcript. Okay. So then you're going to have a conclusion, and then you're going to discuss a limitation and any recommendations. So now I'm going to unpack each of these components. So your chapter 5, we usually say it's the discussion and findings because this is where you discuss your data. So you are writing almost like a chapter 2 where you argue with literature, but now you are using extracts from your interviews as examples to support your finding. Okay, so when we discuss our data and using those examples from our data source, your data source in this instance was an interview. So your data is interviews. When you support your work with your source, then we call what you're writing, it's now finding, okay? Because you are referring to your own data to validate what you are saying, okay? So if anyone please has something to say, I can't see any raised hands. Just unmute yourself and say, ma'am, please pause. Can you explain this again? Or what do you mean by this particular example? Okay, so please don't raise your hand. Just unmute and ask. Ne? And then now we get into the writing. So I've shown you this particular structure. You're going to introduce your chapter, an introduction, discuss each theme. Now from your chapter 3, 4 assignment, you ended off with your 3 or 4 themes or however many themes you ended up with. Most likely it's 3 or 4, okay? Because of how much data you collected, okay? So Now we're going to include a discussion of each theme. You're going to basically interpret what does this theme mean. You're going to support that with the sources that you would have cited previously in your work. And then you're also going to include extracts from your interview transcript. So, for example, if your theme is the design of an LMS is important for a conducive learning environment, okay? Let's say that's one of your themes. Under that theme, you're going to discuss why is the use of an LMS important for a conducive learning environment, okay? And then you're going to go to extracts in your interview transcript where your participants would have mentioned the value of a conducive learning environment or something around a conducive learning environment to support this claim that you are making, okay? So you're going to do that for all the themes that you have, okay? Then thereafter, you're going to have your conclusion, limitations, and I'll come to that. Okay. So in your introduction, you write one like you would have in any other chapter. You provide an outline of this chapter and you just mention the themes that you will be discussing. Okay. Just like a typical introduction that you would write. Now, this is just an example. It's not you are not doing a maths topic. So this was from my previous math study. And I just thought, let me include something just to show you as an example when you refer to an introduction. Okay, so then you discuss your themes. Now, when we're discussing each theme, again, as I said, you support it with literature and evidence from your transcripts. Okay, then let's get to the first theme. Now, if you look at the first theme here, just note you are not, this was a mathematics study, but I just thought if I use a more neutral topic, it might be easy to see. So in this particular study, the first theme was making connections with what learners already knew. So there I started writing what is this all about? This is about the importance of prior knowledge for mathematics learning. Okay, so then I write my paragraph. Making connections is important. Blah blah blah. And then students, I end up before I cite my source from my transcript. Then I mentioned that student teachers indicated the importance of being able to understand learners' prior knowledge before they teach a new mathematical concept. And this is highlighted in the data. So in my data, there are examples where student teachers mentioned the importance of prior knowledge. Now, a student teacher may say something like, it's important to know learners' prior knowledge. They may say it's important, you first need to know what students know first about math. All those terms, they still relate to that construct of prior knowledge. Okay, so when you go into your extract, your participant may not have said maybe a conducive learning environment. They may have said something like creating a positive learning environment. Okay, but that still relates to a conducive learning environment. So you can use that extract when you are supporting for that theme. Okay, the same applies here. Here's another example of a theme. Here again, planning for teaching. This was about the importance of lesson planning. And I spoke here, I discussed why is lesson planning an important part of teaching. And then I mentioned there that student teachers did not find the process of lesson planning daunting because they've become accustomed to it over the duration of their studies. And with also different inputs from mentor teachers, they also commented that it helps develop their confidence and therefore they don't feel threatened or intimidated by this aspect of learning to teach. Okay, then my extract also support that. We're confident when standing in front of learners because we are used to teaching in this school. You become extremely confident in everything you do and you do it to the best of your abilities. Okay, so that's an example of the second theme. Then here's another example of a third theme. This was about the teachers, the mentor teachers now. When I interviewed them, because in this study I interviewed students and mentor teachers, and then this theme was about the mentor teachers and it related to theoretical knowledge. Do students include knowledge about theory, the theory that they learn? Do they include that theory in their lesson planning? Okay. And then the comments there also relate to that. That one teacher saying that they've been using the Fritz model. She tries to assist students building conceptual knowledge for teaching number sense. Okay. So I hope, does this make sense so far? Let me just pause here and then see if there are any hands or any comments. If you can show with a thumbs up or thumbs down, I don't know. Just let me get a sense of if it's making sense.
We are following, ma'am.
You are
Makes
following. Is
much
it
sense.
making
Yes.
sense?
Yes.
All right, great stuff. And then Babang Hape, Karabo, Tulufelo. Um, great. Okay.
Ma'am,
And then yes, yes,
so
Tulu.
on that slide, lesi ngibone kuma-comment ubhala bo-M namanamba
Oh, okay.
lezi
Yes.
zinto.
Let's all right. So here where you see the numbers. Remember in your interview transcript, I didn't mark your guys' work. So, but in your interview transcript, when you are transcribing your interview, where your participants have spoken, you would give them assign a code. For example, here where you see S10, line 269. This was from student 10 who, in line 269 of my transcript. Ne? Okay, so it just gives me a sense of who said it and where in the transcript is it. Okay, sometimes it's always more thorough if you can show the line in your transcript, but I'm not sure if maybe you did that in your one. But even if you just show student 10, just for if you didn't do the line numbering, just so that the reader can see that, oh, S10 or student 10 or P1 participant 1 in that particular instance. In this study, because I also interviewed teachers, that MT3 stood for mentor teacher 3, ne? Mentor teacher 1, MT2 mentor teacher 1. Okay, so you depend how you code your participants names. Okay, some people write the full name. They will say student 1 line 51, ne? Or student 1 and then the comment that they are sharing. Okay, does that make sense, Tulufelo?
Yes, another question.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, guys, please don't laugh. Ma'am, I got zero, ne?
Oh, Askis.
For for not interviewing my fellow fourth year students, ne, ma'am.
When are you interviewed a teacher, ne?
And another student from another university. Kanti mina kanti usebe akekho specific laphaya
Mm,
ukuthi hey guys,
yeah.
the
Well, I think
participant
maybe
must
they'll
be fellow fourth year
Tulufelo.
students.
Yeah, I think it may be, but just take it up with Mr. Mlaudi, because I know in the past I think we've had like one other instance like that, like 2 3 years ago. But that student was a problematic student. It was a campus student who never attended classes, so I'm sure she just downloaded the guide and then just did her own thing. Okay, so the skill, well, I guess the skill that you would have learned would have been the same, but the kind of data you find is a bit skewed, because it doesn't relate to the LMS. So maybe in that sense, the teachers in the classrooms are not learning or designing an LMS like you guys are doing. Okay, so that's the logic behind it. But I think for that particular one, because it's not like a generic problem with everyone, take it up with Mr. Mlaudi. And if you want me to, maybe I can also have a look and see if it's really going to disadvantage you. Because the fourth year research report, Yeah, sometimes they do externally moderate. Okay, so we wouldn't want a moderator failing you because of that. But take it up with Mr. Mlaudi. You can include me as well, and then we'll see how best we assist you. Okay, all right. Does that answer you?
Yes, ma'am.
All
And
right.
I
Okay.
also need help
Yes.
with, he said your themes may need to be rephrased to answer the research question.
Which things? Is it themes? Is it
The
what is
theme,
it? The
the
themes.
theme.
Okay. All right. Well, I think let's do this. If you have any themes you would like me to see, because now it's late after at night it's a bit hard for me because I have a small baby. But you can send me on WhatsApp and then include your name. Ne? Ska senda fella and then not say who it's from. Then usually when I get some time, if the baby's asleep at night, then I can always go and check those things. Okay. If you want to share, I can always have a look and guide you as well along those lines. Okay. Is that clear? All right.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Tolu. Thank you. Any other questions so far, everyone? Bui, I see. Kagiso, I see you're also here. Anything you would like to ask? The next part is literally like what, 3 slides. So I just want to know if anyone else has a question. All right. Okay. So I don't see hands. Let me finish this last bit and then we will proceed to the last part. Okay. All right. Then you also
Okay, Miss Katu,
yes. Yes.
I wanted to ask, I don't know if they've asked that question, but I just got home now. So
Okay.
on the themes, when you're referring to the people that you interviewed on what they have said related to
Yes.
the theme that you're discussing, do we have to write on which line?
Yes, I Tolufelo was asking that. Ne? It always helps. Did you include lines in your transcript, Lisego?
Yes, I did.
Okay, great. If you included lines, it just makes your life much easier. Then when you say you want to show that extract ne, from student one ne, or line 55. Okay. So you will then when you are quoting I'll just say quoting because you are taking directly from your data. You will then put you can say student one line 55 or S1 L55. Ne? Okay, it depends really how you want to show that there, but you just have that on a new line. Okay, and you don't include it in the paragraph. I know I said this to you earlier on today, but let me just share with everyone. When you are citing your from your extracts, students, don't include the extract with the entire paragraph. Ne? Put it in a new line and put the quoted text in quotation marks and make it in italics. Ne? Okay, then it also makes it easier to read ne? And it makes it easy on the eye to see your work nicely. Okay, so yes, thank you for asking that, Lisiko, and I hope it also helps everyone else get clarity. Yes, SK Kumalo, igama lakho ubani? Aha, Kiboni Kumalo, Kumalo, your hand was up. Okay, or maybe it's a mistake. Okay, I don't know.
His
All
question
right.
is in the chat box.
Oh, in the chat. Okay,
Yes.
Askis, I didn't open the chat. Okay, ma'am, I have a question. When you are drawing on the data from the participants, discussing the themes, are we limited to only 2 points? Yes, good point. You are not limited to 2 points like the one I showed you in the slide. Okay, that one is just an example. You can take, even if you want to put 3 or 4, however many that you feel help you to show that your participants really mention this particular point. So you're not limited to two. Okay, two as just an example. You can always show more than that if you wish to do so. Okay, thank you for that question. Mara, still, you don't want to tell me your name. Okay, all right. Um, I see you still. Oh, it looks like you're still typing in the chat as well. Um, yes. Any other comments or questions while we wait for that question comment in the chat? Yes, Lesego?
Is my mic still on?
Yes. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, I'll come back to your comment, Kumalo. Let me just finish these last two slides. Then when you get to the limitation section, now here, dear students, you write, what do you think was a limitation in your study? You know, it can be a gap in the knowledge, gap in the literature. Again, here, follow the guidelines, 2 to 4 sentences max, or 2 points, okay? So don't write a whole long section. The mark allocation doesn't allow you for that. Just 2 or 3 points that you think was something that aspects that you could not explore in your study, or something that limited you. Maybe even the fact that you are doing this online, could have been a limitation. Maybe you would have preferred to engage with your participants face to face. I don't know. Whatever you think was something that could have been better. That's how I like to think of a limitation. What could have been better about your study? What is it that you could have done to make it better? Okay, it can be a gap in knowledge, and it can also be your own experience as well. Maybe the fact that you learned about research now in your 4th year, and it was a new, uh, learnings, new construct. Maybe some of you've never done research before, so maybe that was like a limitation, that maybe you wished the content could have been over a much longer period of time. We had so much because of your will, your teaching. But for you guys, it's not so much of a big deal because you are in the schools every day. But one of the examples, for instance, with the campus-based students, they mentioned how because now in their 4th year, they go to will for much longer, they didn't really give enough time to their research, okay, because they were so focused on their teaching prac most of the time. So that was a limitation from some of the students that they expressed. Okay, doesn't have to be a lot, just things that you think could have made the process better. Then, what would you recommend regarding this field of research? Brief can be a little paragraph or 3 to 5 sentences. What would you recommend about this area of research in the future? Okay. Do you think other students should learn? What else maybe do you think other students should do research about? You guys are at a much fortunate position where you spend more time with children in school. Maybe you would say, I think it would have been nice to do research around mathematics teaching, because you see how mathematics is taught, or this particular construct is difficult for children to learn. So anything there that you think could be a possible future recommendation for research. You won't believe, but these recommendations, whenever I mark research reports, this little section always gives me such nice ideas to say, what is it that maybe some of our things that possible ideas that our students want to learn, and how we can also improve and make it better. Okay, so please think about that again here, not a long section, just a little paragraph there. Then these are questions. I don't want you to write. Don't now go and say, Ms. Khazi said we must go write this new section now. Okay, it's reflective questions. I want you to think about this as you're writing, that what did you find meaningful in your data, your theoretical framework? You were all using this from the stance of emotion and cognition are intertwined. Those principles that you had to incorporate in your research. Did you answer or address your research question? So you're not writing, you're not answering these questions like in a typing answers out, but as you are interpreting your findings in your chapter 5, I thought it could be something that's valuable to think about as you are interpreting your findings for your research. Okay. So, in conclusion, when you're writing your conclusion, please don't restate your main points in a super fashion, wordy fashion to squeeze another paragraph out of this section. Okay. Really, when you are writing, I always look at the student's style of writing. If I see that your introduction was, just okay, then all of a sudden your literature review, your English is so posh and so fancy, and then come to your chapter 5, now it's like, oh, ne? Then that usually tells me if a student has copied or made use of all these AI generation tools. Okay. So that's that for now. So we come to the end of that slide. Oh, you were saying thank you, Kumal. Okay, thank you. Okay, so that brings us to the end. It's not a very long slide. That's where it ends. Now I want to throw it back to you to say, what is it that you would like to ask? If there's any more clarity seeking. How many of you, just a show of hands, have started with chapter 5? I know, Lesego, you have. Anyone else who has started? Bui, Karabo, Kagiso, oh, Kubale, yes. Okay, okay. So some of you have. Okay, if you haven't started, please do start working on it so that you don't put yourself under pressure. Ne? And come Saturday, then you are stressed. You're like, I can't submit and all that. Okay, so start working on it. If you are more than welcome to send any, if you want to ask questions, clarity seeking, not just about chapter 5, but even your research as well. You are waiting. We were waiting. Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you, Bongega. Yeah, I'm really sad I didn't get to teach you guys as much as I would have wanted to teach you. Um, yeah, because firstly, half of the year I was on maternity leave, and then when I came back,